What's up, you big head bitches? I'm excited, man. I'm so super excited. This is JMC, the unprofessional expert. Thank you for coming back. We are on our very next episode. There's so much going on in the world of boxing. There's a lot to talk about. Super excited. I'm going to go over a few things with you today. But before we do that, please follow, like, and subscribe because if you don't, I will literally fight you in real life. But thank you for being tuned in with us. I do appreciate it. Once again, JMC, the unprofessional expert. Let's get right into it. Good fight here recently. We had David Benavidez versus I almost forgot his name. David Benavidez versus Demetrius Boo Boo Andre. Cool matchup. I did give a preview of it on the last recording, and it kind of went as expected. Demetrius Andre was rolled up and smoked by David Benavidez. Wasn't super competitive, but we'll backtrack. Benavidez came out strong, and Andre showed resilience early. Then eventually he was able to be aggressive, be assertive, and Andre just really wasn't strong enough to keep Benavidez off his ass. So ultimately, he was able to stop him. He quit on the corner in between rounds, and first loss of his career. But he did take a chance. It was a challenge. He wasn't scared of the challenge, and a lot of people just aren't lining up to fight David Benavidez. So shout out to Andre for doing this thing. Ultimately, he didn't come away victorious, and so that leads us into what's next for David Benavidez. He's been calling out Canelo Saul Alvarez. Great matchup there. I don't think that's a good fight for him. I think it would be a different outcome for him. He might get rolled up and smoked in that matchup. So that would be interesting to see if that does happen. I think he should steer clear of Canelo. But if they do choose to fight, it'll be a really fun and exciting matchup. He also mentioned moving up in weight and fighting guys by the likes of Dimitri Bivol and Beterbiev. And he should also steer clear of both of those guys as well. Those are certified monsters, not guys that you want to play with. And Benavidez's style, he tries to be the bully. And I think in those matchups, he can end up getting bullied. So it would be really, really important to see what he can do defensively against those guys. It's a higher weight class. They're stronger. They're not going to lay down. He's not going to be able to back those guys up. And so we really want to think about matchups when it comes to guys who are that talented, who are as strong as he is, if not even stronger. So I'm really interested to see what Benavidez's next move is. Hopefully Canelo doesn't duck him, but in the sport of boxing, politics rule, and so it'll be really interesting to see how that matchup goes. So that is a recap on Benavidez and Andre. Hopefully Andre bounces back. I really like him. He's a cool guy, strong fighter, crafty guy. So hopefully he gets a good rebound fight and gets things back on track. He didn't mention retiring, so that's a good thing. So he should be back soon. Also, something really crazy that happened that I did not appreciate as a avid Terrence Crawford fan. They stripped him of his title. The IBF sucks. Absolutely sucks. I want to boo them. Boo IBF. You guys are terrible for doing this. But Crawford was stripped of his title, and it was given to Jaron Boots Ennis. Great fighter, by the way. He's been an interim for a while. He was the interim, actually, when Spence had the belts. And Crawford took the belts from Spence, and they took it from Crawford. He never even got the chance to actually defend them. So it's kind of crazy. So the rematch for Spencer Crawford won't even be for Undisputed because he no longer has the IBF. So just lets you know how crazy that is. Makes no sense. And Crawford even responded to it, and he said that Boots is now the email champ. He's going to get his belt in the mail. He never gets to fight for it. And I actually agree. Even though I don't think that matchup would have ever happened because Crawford is looking for big time, big money, big payday fights, and Jaron Boots Ennis just isn't on that level yet. So I can understand why he wouldn't fight Boots Ennis. And also Boots Ennis is very talented. And so why take a less notable fight against a guy that not everyone knows who's extremely talented? So it's like a lose-lose situation. So it's understandable why he didn't choose that matchup. But you got to fight for your belts, man. You got to fight for them. We can't just get them in the mail and I'm the new champ now, man. As a boxing fan, as a true diehard boxing fan, that shit was terrible. But the IBF, they'll figure it out. Or they won't. Who knows? It's a terrible, terrible sanctioning body, but it is what it is. So hopefully, we haven't gotten the actual what's going on with Spence and Crawford fight. They're delaying it. They're not speaking on it. Supposedly they were going to fight again before the end of the year. Who knows what the fuck's going on there? Hopefully they do get it in. If they don't, we need to find out what's next for Crawford. The whole world is still excited for Crawford, his career, and what happens next. So we need a date. We need something. Somebody let us know what's going on there. Are we getting a rematch or not? Super important. Boxers fans need to know this information. Please and thank you. So going back to the Benavidez Andrade, there was a good fight on that undercard. Big Charlo came back. He was off for 2 years. He got slapped by Caleb Plant. For no reason, I didn't have to mention that, but I did. Big Charlo is fighting Big Benavidez. Not a fan of Big Benavidez. Charlo looked great. For a 2-year layoff, he boxed well. He was strong. He didn't go for the knockout. He got his rounds in. He looked solid. I think he looked better after his layoff than he did before the layoff. And I'm really interested to see it as into what Big Charlo does next. There's a rift with him and his brother. We hate to see that. We hate to see sibling rivalries play out in front of the entire world. So hopefully those guys come back together and be twins again. But strong showing for Big Charlo. Not so much for Jose Benavidez Jr. He laid an egg. He's not really that strong. I don't understand why he keeps getting these big opportunities. But nevertheless, he didn't do too great in that fight. But he didn't get stopped or knocked out or anything like that. So he stood his ground. So that's good. Big Charlo, man, so I really like that fight for him. No layoffs. Guys can come out rusty. They're not sure of themselves. They don't know what to do. And I feel like from the very beginning of that fight, he was strong. And he was assertive. And he looked good. So you can tell he put in the work in his count. So I like that for him. And I hope that maybe he gets that matchup with Plant after the scuffle that they had. And I did mention Plant laid hands on Benavidez. I'm sorry, not Benavidez, but Big Charlo. So hopefully he doesn't allow that to happen to him again. So that is just a quick recap on what happened on that undercard. It was a really good fight. And unfortunately, we have to talk about what happened with Shakur Stevenson, the boogeyman of the lightweight division, the most ducked fighter. I think he's a Twitter champion. He broke the record for the least amount of punches thrown in a fight. It was an absolute snooze fest. I don't understand why people are ducking this man. Is he talented? Of course. But is he someone to be ducked? Of course not. He's not strong. As my old coach Chambers would say, he can't knock a hat off your head. And I think he might have been referring to Shakur Stevenson. Shout out Chambers, RIP Chambers. Rest in peace. We love you. But to go out there and have an absolute snooze fest, as much as that guy talks, as much shit as he talks to everyone, about everyone, anytime. And I don't like it. For that fight to be that boring, for you to actually break records for not throwing punches. It's a shame. We need better. We need more from Shakur Stevenson. He's been called out for this before. He said he had a bad night, but bad nights shouldn't be that fucking boring. So we need more out of Shakur Stevenson. I really wish he would have fought Frank Martin. That would have been a great matchup, a great night for Frank. He's crafty, he's strong, he's skilled. But supposedly Frank ducked Shakur Stevenson. Just not understanding why anybody would duck this man. He barely throws punches. So hopefully Shakur's next matchup allows him a better, stronger, more well-known opponent. Also, his opponent, nobody even knows who that guy was. And he still couldn't stop him, knock him out, get him out of there. It was honestly a waste of time. It was a championship fight on a Thursday. It just lets you know that there was nothing going on there. I hate that happened, that entire fight. So hopefully we get more out of Shakur Stevenson's career moving forward. More exciting fights. We need it. Frank Martin, if you're listening, man, go ahead and fight this guy. We don't need to hear about ducking. Hopefully Devin Haney comes back to the weight class, even though he just recently vacated all of his belts. So he might stay up there at 140. He's got a fight coming up here next weekend against Regis Prograis. Good fight. Two good guys, skilled guys. They know what they're doing. They know how to get after it, go after each other. And they've had some good build-up. Really interesting back and forth for that build-up. It'll be on DAZN pay-per-view. DAZN, you have to have a monthly subscription. And then for the big fights, you You actually have to pay typical pay-per-view price. Not a big fan of the Zone, which is very interesting because Showtime is no longer doing boxing. And so moving forward, we've just got ESPN, who is specific to top rank fighters, and you got the Zone, who typically has either Matchroom or Golden Boy fighters. And so you've got a whole group of PBC guys who typically fought on Showtime, who are now going to be looking for a network to fight on. And so I'm really hoping these guys don't go to the Zone because I don't want to pay that shit. So it'll be interesting what happens next, politics-wise in boxing, network-wise, television-wise, because that also dictates the matchups that we get. Typically, the PBC guys fight the PBC guys, so forth and so on. Top rank fights top rank, unless you got some free agents out there, guys that call their own shots like Canelo, just the superstars. So hopefully we don't get a bunch of guys running to the Zone for the fights, because it'll be a lot of pay-per-views that we'll have to pay for on top of a monthly subscription. It's killing boxing. You have to pay for absolutely everything. Guys like me, we need a few free fights, right? I got a lot going on. Can't pay for every fight. Another upcoming huge card, or so they say, in the heavyweight division. It's being thrown by Matchroom. A couple of good guys on this card. They should be fighting each other, but they all have their separate fights, so forth and so on. They called it the Day of Reckoning. So I'm looking at this and just going to go over these fights. Some of them I like, some of them I absolutely do not like. But starting with Anthony Joshua and Otto Wallin. This is the fight absolutely nobody asked for, but we are getting it. We would have preferred Anthony Joshua to be fighting another guy on the card by the name of Deontay, the Bronze Bomber Wilder. Till this day. I'll never forget that. Till this day. All right. So, Anthony Joshua, Otto Wallin. We've got Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. Once again, two fights absolutely nobody asked for. Not sure why these guys aren't fighting each other, but hopefully after this card, maybe that leads to a matchup between those two, in which I do think Anthony Joshua won't survive. He might get stretchered out of that situation, but hopefully that's not the case. Wilder versus Parker is a good bounce back for Wilder. I'm not sure about Parker. I don't think anybody really cares about that guy. We've got Daniel Dubois versus Jarrell Miller. I absolutely would never fight Jarrell Miller. Just the simple fact that he's a known cheater. He's been caught doping at least 3 times. With boxing being as serious of a sport as it is, you get in that ring every time and you're literally risking your life. And to get in there with a guy who is known for cheating, it's not worth it. It's not worth the risk. I don't like that fight. I actually would have liked for Dubois to rematch Usyk, because I do believe that that was a clean shot, and he should actually be currently unified champ of the world. Instead, he gets to fight a doped-up Miller. So, we got good names on this card. It's like an A-side, B-side. The A-side is great. The B-side is just a random heavyweight. And then they also threw Dimitri Bivol versus some guy by the last name of Arthur. Dimitri Bivol is actually the most talented boxer on this entire card, and he's just thrown somewhere on the undercard. I completely don't understand that. He's talented. He's strong. He needs good matchups. We don't want to see Dimitri Bivol against really random guys, so I hate that for his career. His trajectory should have changed after beating Canelo, and so I think he's being mismanaged. He could really be at the top of the sport. So we need to think about what's going on with Dimitri Bivol's career, his handlers, his guys, his people, who's ever lining up these fights for him. Let's do better. His promoters. You can't beat Canelo Alvarez and not have a spike in your career. Like, I don't really understand what's going on with Dimitri Bivol's career. More heavyweights. We got Frank Sanchez. This guy has been a contender. He's been up and coming for forever. I think it's time for him to get his shot. Good, crafty, strong Cuban guy. He's very talented. And so I would have liked to have seen him against maybe Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder instead of the opponents that they picked. So it's a stacked card, but so much. It's stacked with good names, but fights that nobody asked for. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. I may or may not even watch it. I'm not sure. The heavyweight division isn't all that great, so it's not something I'm going to run and jump to go see. To have a full card of heavyweight fights, it may not be the outcome that they wanted to have. They did it over in Dubai, which is interesting because I think if they had that card in Vegas, it may or may not even have sold out because they really just threw some random heavyweights together and called it a great card. So we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully, those guys, the big names on that card, do well, and then we can start looking at a matchup of Deontay Wilder versus Joshua. Hopefully, we get that Fury Usyk fight coming up here soon. We need to shake things up at the heavyweight division. I know those guys are typically older and they fight longer than the smaller guys, so we'll see what happens. Heavyweight division needs a spark. They weren't prepared for Anthony Joshua to lose to Usyk, and so things have been on a downfall since with the heavyweight division. But, you know, it's by Matchroom, so Eddie Hearn, that's his guy. So he's going to keep pushing Anthony Joshua until he can't anymore. But it is what it is on that fight. Can't say that I'm super excited about that, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it comes out and it's a blockbuster. Maybe guys get knocked out and it's fun and entertaining to watch. So for me, that was a good recap. I feel great about where boxing is right now. Boxing's got a really big buzz. I saw a post about all the big fights that happened this year. Everything that's been going on. We had Teofimo versus Josh Taylor. We had Gervonta versus Ryan Garcia. Oh, Ryan Garcia fought last night. He fought an absolute nobody, so I'm going to skip over that. Nobody, once again, boxing will give you fights that no one asked for, so let's just skip over Ryan Garcia's comeback. He talks a lot as well. Hopefully his next matchup will be against a better named opponent, and it's something that I actually didn't even watch that fight. I didn't care to see that one. But Ryan Garcia is decent. He's more of an internet guy. It's kind of a trend. These internet guys, they talk a lot. The fights, the matchups don't live up to the hype. And so, but going back to just the state of boxing, I think it's incredible. I think boxing is important. It's not a team sport, man. It's a person. It's your will, your strength, your prowess, man. It prepares you for life. It's more than just a sport. And so for me, boxing, it's just really important. I like the rise of boxing where it's at right now. It's in a great space. And so hopefully we continue to have good and better fights. Hopefully guys get off of Twitter and they get in the ring and let their hands speak for themselves, because we need that. Boxing needs to continue to grow. It is important. It is important. Boxing needs us. We need boxing. So said all that to say, that was my recap, things I wanted to talk about. Not a whole lot of fights lined up just yet. And so as those come in, I'll be able to get in and talk about those. Fury Usyk's in February. Haney Prograis is next weekend. Other than that, there's not a whole lot going on. And so we'll see what happens next. But that's all I got for you today. I do appreciate you tuning in. Once again, like, subscribe, and follow, because if you do not, I will literally fight you in real life. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good one.